Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Monday, the 9th of January. I'm Derek Clark and I'm joined this morning by Joshua Barrie. How are we getting on, Joshua?
Yeah, good, Derek. Good to be with you. Enjoyed the game yesterday. After a bit of a boring first half, so yeah, looking forward to chatting about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great result for Rangers yesterday at Tannadice. We'll talk about the big talking points from that game shortly, folks. But before we do that, just a bit of housekeeping. First of all, you can see the banner on your screen. If you want to support the channel, please subscribe. Over 10,500 of you do so now, so thanks very much for your support. It's greatly appreciated. That is totally free, and as you can see, Joshua has just popped up our new sponsor there, Seneca Medical Group, a fantastic organisation. They are the #1 hair transplant corporation in Europe. To date, they've treated over 43,000 hairless sufferers. So a fantastic organisation and great to have them on board to support the channel. It's not something that you, I don't think, envisage you using at any point soon, Joshua. Maybe for me and many other viewers, I think it's something that certainly we might have to consider at some point in the near future.
Not yet. I'm not. My dad's still got a good head of hair, Derek, but you never know what life will throw at you. So yeah, thanks to Seneca for sponsoring. You can look at the link in the comment section. As you say, Derek, the #1 in Europe. So if you want to find out more about it, then Seneca is the place to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's talk all things Rangers. Only Rangers Matter gets in touch. Hairless sufferers. I love baldness. Yeah, absolutely. It's a sign of masculinity, I'm sure. That's what we're told anyway. But Seneca, yeah, go and check them out, folks. A fantastic organisation if you're thinking about a little bit of a hair transplant there on the top of your dome. Right, let's talk Rangers, Joshua. Great result yesterday. Performance-wise, it was another one of those sort of game of two halves, you could say. A bit of a nothing first half, nothing really of note to report. Rangers huffed and puffed, dominated, although it was Dundee United that had the best of the chances, you've got to say. However, they came out after half-time, as they have done in the main under Michael Beale, looked rejuvenated. Alfredo Morelos coming on for Antonio Cholak, who we'll touch on shortly. Thought he made a difference, the Colombian up top, and Rangers managed to get the goals. A fantastic opening goal from Fashion Sakala. It was his usual mixed bag, especially first half, where he'd do something terrific and then either stand in the ball or lose it under no duress. But that first goal was sublime. Great run in behind Ryan Jack, who had a good role to play, I think, as well. He anticipated the Zambian and running in behind. He basically flicked it up with his right foot and volleyed it in with his left. It was a fantastic finish. Malik Tillman scored just seconds after that, and a great 2-minute spell for Rangers. Sakala again. It was James Tavernier with a run inside the penalty area. Laid it off for Sakala. His shot was blocked. Fell out to Malik Tillman. And despite a ruck of bodies in his way, managed to fire into the corner, and that's how it finished. Pretty comfortable in the end, Joshua, but the first half wasn't really good enough as far as Rangers are concerned, I don't think. Fortunately, Dundee United unable to capitalise on a bit of slackness at times, but Rangers in the end, I think, deserved winners.
Yeah, well, I think we should probably start on Sakala, Derek, and then move on to what changed in the game, the first and the second half. The colour piece from the game last night is a bit of a detailed look at Sakala and some of the manager's comments, some stats, some graphs. So I've put that in the comment section, but you can obviously read it over at the website as well. I put in the piece, Derek, that he's culpable of first half performances like yesterday, but capable of scoring the individual effort that followed. And I think that kind of sums Sakala up. You know what sometimes you'll lack in a game, but I think what we're increasingly seeing is what he gives you far outweighs the negatives. I didn't realise this, but he only started more than 2 successive league games last season once the league was over. And he started the run of games. You remember, I think Rangers beat St Mirren 4-0 or 4-1 away from home. Kemar Roofe scored a hat-trick. By that point, I think that was after the Old Firm defeat in early January. And that's the only time that Sakala really got a run of games. Last season, he had 0.5 goals per 90. This season, it's about the same after yesterday. And that's what Beale's done well for me so far. He's got goal scorers in the team. He said after the game, we see Malik and Sakala as goal scorers. So rather than picking between them, we pick them both. We've spoken previously about, Gerrard maybe going away to Pittodrie, and Beale referenced this in his post-match interview, I think, on that day, or post-match press conference. I think you'd have often seen him lock up in the midfield and then push a Tillman, or back then maybe in a Rebo into the front three. He did that when Rangers lost 1-0 at Tannadice at the start of last season. Feels longer than the start of last season, but it was just about a year and a half ago. Beale's resisted the urge to do that at home in the Old Firm. I thought he might do that as well, but he stuck with Sakala and Tillman. So you've got that goal threat, and you've got much more of a goal threat in the team. You look back to the 2-1 game against Dundee United under Van Bronckhorst, and Tillman and Sakala were both starting on the bench, and there was a midfield of Kent, Arfield, Jack, Lundstrom, and Charlie McCann, which isn't a midfield that's going to score you a lot of goals. So what Beale, I think, has done is get goal scorers in the team. The key part for me, and it's something that I think's worth a lot more of a conversation around maybe in the coming weeks. I don't know if it's just something I'm interested in and is actually quite boring to other people. But if you look at Sakala yesterday, and it's similar to last week's Old Firm. Last week's Old Firm, he's mainly receiving the ball, trying to get in behind on the left-hand side in the first half. In the second half, he changes it, playing from the right-hand side within 10 minutes. If you look at yesterday, watch the 5 minutes leading up to the goal, Sakala has a run through the middle of the pitch, then he attacks that Borna Barisic cross almost from the right byline, and then he scores from the left touchline. I think that variation and freedom that the Rangers attackers have, moving in kind of conjunction with one another, is what is making it harder to defend against them, because unlike previous systems, I think Gerrard, you knew what they were doing, but it became almost too rigid. Van Bronckhorst, I just don't think he had enough of a successful domestic blueprint. But I think Beale's challenge was always, can he evolve what happened last time? And because it became predictable by the end, it wasn't a great watch, the football that Steven Gerrard's team were playing by the time we went down to Aston Villa. And I think what's been interesting has been the way that these attackers have so much freedom, combined with a goal threat. I think that's made them a real good, it's earned them a lot of good results early on, because that's 6 wins from 5 from 6, and it was very close to being a perfect start.
Yeah, so many comments coming in. Let's get to a few of them. First of all, it shows you the worldwide appeal of this show. First of all, David Robertson watching us all the way from the Philippines. Good evening, David. Good to have you tuning in. And William Matheson gets in touch. Morning from Fuerteventura. There's a definite positive energy about Rangers. It wasn't there prior to Michael Beale. Hampden result will tell us more. Yes, of course, Aberdeen on the horizon on Sunday. Looking forward to that immensely. Rangers really need to know. We got the Scottish Cup last season, but the League Cup in recent years has been pretty deplorable. So hopefully we can address that this season. Lots of comments coming in with regards to performances in the game yesterday. We'll touch on transfers shortly, folks, because we know there's 2 players that you're looking to speak about. But firstly, Scotty gets in touch. He says the Tillman train defo motoring now. He certainly...
He's just very good at football, Derek, isn't he? He's just very good.
He is very good at football. Although I'm not entirely sure about the Malik Tillman song that I heard at Tannadice yesterday. What it goes by... I'm not entirely sure what the words are. It's "You're Malik, don't you know?" or something like that. And
I still can't work out the second half of the song. So if anyone can,
let us know in the comments what the song lyrics are, folks, so we can sing along on Sunday. But Malik Tillman again, Joshua, another impressive showing.
Yeah. I mean, I thought him and Sakala were frustrating in the first half. Beale said the same after the game, but all it takes is a moment for these types of players to change the game. And Tillman continues to make a real difference. I thought he was improved in the second half. There was that one touch, I think it was just at the start of the second half, where he moved Rangers forward. I think he took the ball from a throw-in and just completely took his opponent out of the game with a single kind of drop of the shoulder and burst forward. But this is another piece we're going to have on the website today, Derek. Something that Michael Beale said after. I'll just read you his quote. He said, "What changed at halftime?" Because he was asked what changed at halftime, because I think Dundee United, Hibs, Aberdeen, last week's Old Firm, all examples of Rangers being better in the second half, or certainly scoring more goals in the second half. And Beale said that there's one or two things about how you can create space for yourself when a team's dropping down. You have to overload certain areas. I won't tell you everything that changed. The crux of it was we passed and moved a lot more off the ball. I thought the first goal typified that. I think it's an interesting comment, and if you watch the lead up to the first goal, again, we're going to have a piece on the website kind of detailing this. You can see how Rangers do that. They're patient, inviting Dundee United in on the right-hand side, and then the execution is obviously fantastic by Sakala after he drops off and takes the ball in from Barisic. But having Tillman and Sakala in the same team, it puts those games out of reach quickly, and Rangers didn't create loads of chances. I think their expected goals was under 1.5. But the difference for me compared to a game like the Dundee United game at home is that when you have those two goal scorers in the team as well as your central striker, in a domestic game, we've seen over the last few years, Rangers are going to have a much better opportunity of winning if they have an extra goal scorer or two in the team outside of Morelos or Cholak.
Yeah, lots of comments with regards to the song lyrics, Joshua. Only Rangers matter, and a few others saying, he's magic, you know, he's Malik, you know, give him the ball and he'll score, apparently. So that's a lyric, so I'll make sure to note them down to join in next time it's getting belted out. Let's get to a few more of the comments coming in. Scotty also says, I thought Bonner was terrific yesterday. I thought he'd had a good game, Joshua. I did enjoy him when he flicked the ball over the head. I can't remember who the boy it was, and he got a tad frustrated and went through him. He had a cheap dig late on in the game, but shows you, I mean, the confidence to do that, just a bit of showboating, you could say. But Bonner certainly looks like he's revitalised after that World Cup with Croatia. To be fair to him, I think he's been arguably one of Rangers' better performers this season. Even when Giovanni Van Bronckhorst was in charge, I thought he was pretty decent. We know he had a bit of a nightmare at Parkhead earlier on in the season, but didn't everyone? And I know Belgium was a bit of a horror show as well. But apart from that, he's been pretty steady this season.
I think he alluded to it himself, Derek, that it didn't suit him as well, the Giovanni Van Bronckhorst system. I thought at points while he was getting assists, he was really culpable of giving the ball away. But also, I think it was, as you say, a little bit of just the effects of the system he was playing in. I thought it was really good yesterday because you get, obviously, his crosses, which almost break the deadlock for Sakala when he attacks that cross at the back post. And you just forget, even though Barisic is crossing from so deep, he just has such a high-quality delivery on him. I think so much higher than anyone else in the league, even James Tavernier, just from the kind of, he doesn't need any real backlift and he can cross from so deep. But I just think it suits him more. He doesn't have to build up as much, because for me, that's when teams could press Barisic a lot if he stays deep, because he's not as comfortable, I think, as James Tavernier, kind of running inside or carrying the ball. I think you've seen teams press him a lot earlier in the season. We've also got a piece coming in. You've set me up perfectly for another piece we've got coming on the website, Derek, by contributor Ian King. Looking at Barisic and his start under Beale and how important it is he retains that, because obviously we've been here with Barisic before. But yeah, I thought him and another player for me, Derek, who played a big part in the first goal, was Ben Davies. Attempted 71 passes yesterday and completed them all. There wasn't a lot of raking diagonals, but he played 4 or 5 balls through the lines, which is the type of pass, I think, with a left foot you haven't seen many Rangers central defenders make in recent years. I think this is what, 5 games now he's played on the trot. I mean, you spoke to his former centre back partner, Paul. Is it Paul Huntington?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I spoke to him this week, and correct me if I'm wrong, but effectively what he was saying is talking up his credentials, and obviously you can read this piece on the website. He was saying you'll see the best of him after he's had a few runs, a run of games in the team, and for me, Derek, you're seeing that now.
Yeah, but Pete Lawrence agrees with you, Joshua. He was really solid and accurate, Ben Davies. I'm really enjoying watching him. I think he and Goldson are building up quite a decent partnership in defence. It's no surprise to see the defence looking more resolute. Michael Beale did touch on that. John McLaughlin with another clean sheet. And I was going to touch on that. Before that, question coming in here from Woodulus. New specs, Derek. Luke Brady. No, unfortunately, I've actually lost, well, not lost, but I can't find my glasses case where the glasses I actually normally wear are in the house. Looked all over them. So this is the substitute specs. But thanks very much for your kind comments. John McLaughlin, there's a comment coming in about McLaughlin I want to touch on from Multiple Man 78. John McLaughlin is the clean sheet king. His percentage of clean sheets per appearances must be the best ever. I looked at this last night, Joshua. I think it's 29 clean sheets in 44 games. Which is quite something since he's been at Rangers. And good to see him getting an opportunity as well. Do we read much into this? I know Michael Beale said that he was expecting Dundee United to fire in set pieces, and that's why he preferred John McLaughlin over Alan McGregor. But I don't think McLaughlin done anything wrong. He made a decent save as well with the scoreline level. Is it just one of those? He's just going to keep chopping and changing until the end of the season, you reckon?
They kind of did that with Gerrard at the start of last season. I mean, it's not an ideal situation, is that you'd want, I'd imagine, if you're a defence, you'd want a number one. But I think it is good management because what it does is, well, Beale said it himself before the game. McLaughlin's strong at coming and claiming the ball and helping Rangers out in those situations. If Rangers are under the cosh, if it was 1-0 yesterday and Dundee United have corners late in the game, I think most people would rather have McLaughlin defending corners because he'll come and claim it. That's, I don't think, something that Alan McGregor has ever done quite as regularly. For me, that's if he trusts him to come in and be able to play kind of irregularly, which McLaughlin has done in the past, to be fair to him, then I think it is good management. Apart from that old firm, he had that reputation of being dependable. I don't think you'd be hard pressed to find a lot of people that would trust him in that big game again because of the goals he let in at Parkhead. But if you need a goalkeeper to come in those certain circumstances, I think that is the right move because teams have targeted that in the past. You know, think back to Ross County last season, that 3-3 draw, which was so damaging in the title race. The final goal comes off a corner. It's something that you could point to throughout the whole of last season. I thought it was interesting that he admitted that pre-match because when McLaughlin played it was Dingwall, wasn't it, Ross County? But I think McGregor was ill then. So yeah, maybe something you'll see between now and the end of the season. But obviously, I think in the year that, as we have said hundreds of times, Derek, Rangers need to buy someone there in the summer. Yeah,
John Dooley makes an interesting point. We lost a poor goal from a corner at Dundee United last season.
Yeah, that's true,
off his line. Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if that was in his mind, Michael Beale, yesterday. Aldo says, Derek, can you ask Michael Beale to start giving his halftime speech before the game from now on? Yes, absolutely. It seems a strange one. I'm certainly going to ask him that next time. The press conference, which will be later on in the week. I'm sure he'll be asked about it anyway, about whether what the difference is between first half and second half. Just on the issue of the specs, Alan Kincaid says, I stood on mine in the panic of Old Firm morning, wearing old goggles now. Nose is ruined. I feel your pain, Alan. And Steely FM with a cheap, snide remark here. Yellow card for him. Never mind hair replacement. Needing Specsavers as the new sponsorship. So there we go. Alfredo Morelos, I thought, made a difference when he came on yesterday, Joshua. Yeah. Lots of comments saying likewise. Pete Lawrence says he's a big presence, very physical, but his decision-making is shocking. And Liz Dempster gets in touch. Morning, Liz. Wee Alfie did change the game, as I think his strength is a difference. But Wee Fashion is absolutely fantastic. Great second half, and Jack was my man of the match. Morelos, I thought he was pretty good. Christopher Stevenson says it changed the game, dragging players out of position, and that's why it made the difference. What were your views on Morelos, Joshua?
Yeah, I agree with all those comments. I thought it made a big difference. I was kind of surprised to hear after that it wasn't tactical, but it was because Čolak had suffered some sort of knock. I think he struggled, but we know that I don't think that game suits him as much as when the ball is in and around the penalty box. I just think that's Čolak's game. You know what you're going to get from him. Morelos is a better all-round player. He's still not the player that he can be. I think he's shown signs of getting there. Might still take him a bit of time to get back. But I think it showed why Michael Beale's system at points needs that player who you can play into the centre. Because just before the goal as well, Rangers tried to go for that avenue, playing to the feet of Morelos. It didn't work, but it's another option that teams have to consider. So I thought he did well. But yeah, if Čolak isn't, if certain away games don't suit him and he doesn't play brilliantly in all of them, then I think he'll more than make up for it with the goals he'll score over the course of the season. And I think it's also important to remember that's his first minutes since, well, would it be his first minutes since Hearts before did he even play against Hearts? Or was it the game before that? I think he might have. Hearts or St Johnstone, because he obviously missed the St Mirren game. So I think comments saying that you can obviously say maybe he's less suited to Beale in open play, but I think it's far too soon to kind of say that he won't work over time or that Beale won't find a way to work with him. I think what you're seeing from Beale is he loves strikers. He wants to play two of them in every single team. He's obviously got Kemar Roofe back. I don't see him starting many games soon, but to have that option of coming off the bench is a positive as well. And that's the first time I think he's actually been able to use all four of his striking options.
Yeah, we'll keep a close eye on Antonio Čolak. His comments come in saying he didn't do anything in that first half. But there's a question from some, Joshua, saying that does he fit into Michael Beale's system? I think that's pretty harsh from 45 minutes worth of action. Listen, he's the top goal scorer. We've seen his qualities this season. I think it's a tad too early to write him off at this stage.
Yeah, and also my guess would be maybe he looks a bit better when, the way Sakala was playing yesterday. He's a forward and he's a goal scorer, but he wasn't playing up necessarily as a striker in the centre. I think at times you might see, Beale wanted to go for Morelos and Čolak in the first game against Hibs. We know he said that after the game, but obviously Čolak was injured. I think that would have been maybe more of a conventional kind of two strikers with Kent in behind, and maybe that would suit Čolak a little bit more. But we need to see more games to, I guess, make any judgment on that, Derek.
Yeah, certainly. Right, let's talk transfers then, because two players have been linked heavily with Rangers about moves. They're out of contract in the summertime. First of all, Norwich City's Todd Cantwell and Everton midfielder Tom Davies, pair of them 24 years of age, I think both of them, both highly rated at the time when they burst through their respective clubs. However, for some reason or other, that they've sort of stumbled of late and have struggled to push on, and Rangers have been linked with both of them. Michael Beale was asked about the pair following the game yesterday. He was asked, it was interesting, his response when he talked about them. He said, no names, but I think they're both good players, to be fair. Todd was an excellent player when he was young and playing against my Liverpool under-23s. I thought he would go on and have a fantastic career. He had that at the start, and he is maybe just looking for a move to reignite it, but I think he's a fantastic player at a good age. And Tom Davies used to kick my Liverpool under-23s team all around the place. There's a bit of John Lundstrom about him, but again, two really good players. Not confirming anything with those two, but there are a lot of players we are speaking to at the moment. Have you seen much of them, Joshua? I've seen both of them at various points down here at games. Cantwell was one when he first burst onto the scene. I thought was a terrific talent. I thought he would push on and even move to a bigger club than Norwich, but it didn't quite happen for him. Tom Davies is another one. He looked good when he was initially introduced into that Everton side, but for one reason or another, it hasn't pushed on. What's your feelings about these two players, and would you welcome them both at Ibrox?
Yeah, well, as you say, Beale saying no names, but obviously his response, he's he's just been watching them on Wyscout the day before. I think if Rangers could get, obviously there'll be any transfer has risk, but you look at someone like Tom Davies, who's played his professional career in the Premier League. Remember, I think in the game against, I think actually when Everton beat Liverpool 2-0 in lockdown, it was one of the first times he beat them at Anfield in 20 years. He was really good on that day. Cantwell kind of seems to have had a difficult couple of years in his career, but you're right, Derek, he was so coveted and performing well for Norwich when they were in the Championship and going up to the Premier League for a reason. I think technically, of course, they'd be more than capable of coming up to the Scottish Premiership and making an imprint. They're at good ages where they'd need a good couple of years to then maybe go and get another move. I think that's the type of profile of player that Beale wants. The question obviously is, and it's what he alludes to in his answer, he says after, I need to meet them and see are they going to shrink or grow when they're playing at Ibrox. Because when players have showed promise or had that a really good first couple of years to their career when they've broken through and then don't kick on. I guess there's maybe questions about that. Is it injury related? Is it to do with the circumstances at the club? Obviously, Cantwell was out. I think it was on loan at Bournemouth as well last season.
He was.
But if Beale could, if Beale can get someone like Cantwell back to the form that attracted all that attention, of course he'll be a really good sign. And similarly with Davies, would he give you legs in the middle of the pitch? Absolutely. He might. I don't know what their injury records are like. I've seen some comments about that, but I've not looked at that at all. But either one of those, I think, is what Rangers need: legs, creativity in the middle of the park, and crucially at an age where they can have a good couple of years and be sellable assets. And I think what they have in what they would hypothetically have in coming to work with a coach like Michael Beale is someone that they know can develop them. So yeah, Beale said towards the end of his press conference as well, something along the lines of, I hope you'll be as excited about the 2 or 3 players that are coming into the club. He's certainly talking up the people that are coming into the club. Said they'll have to have time to adjust, but they're coming in to be starters and not squad fillers. I think it's another example as well of him understanding the tone that he needed to carry coming into the club in the state it was in, and the way that people felt about things like transfers and the playing style at the start of December. And if Rangers can add a couple of players with energy in the middle of the park to that team, with the players that are coming into form, and you know, you're seeing Goldson and Davies forming a strong partnership, other players coming onto a game a bit, then suddenly it does look the valuation of certain players looks a whole lot healthier. So interesting links, and we'll just have to wait and see what happens over the next few days.
Yeah, listen, every signing is a gamble. We know that, but they're at the right age, and it's whether Michael Beale can reignite their careers. As he touched on, Blair Cockburn makes an interesting point. Although the similarity to Brian Clough is quite something. He says if Beale wants Cantwell and Davies, we have to trust his judgment. Beale could be a 21st century Brian Clough. Well, there's a comparison for you. I think he's got some way to go to be anywhere near Brian Clough, who was an absolute legend in terms of the managerial side of the game. But listen, yet Rangers heavily linked with both Tom Davies and Todd Cantwell. And it's interesting the point you touched on, Joshua, about Michael Beale's comments about looking players in the eye. And he touched on a pre-match press conference. He said it's okay having Zoom meetings, but he wanted to meet them face to face. He says he's quite fussy in that regard. He needs to make sure they have what it takes to play for Rangers. It's not no disrespect to Norwich and to some extent Everton as well. It's not quite playing for Rangers, so they need to deal with the demands if they are to come up the road. Cantwell, I certainly think there'll be question marks over his mentality. He's coming from Norwich. He's played for Bournemouth, like you said. He had a loan spell in Holland as well. But playing for Rangers is nothing like playing for those clubs. Everton,
Everton are a big club, aren't they?
They are, but I think Rangers is the expectation to win every single week is something that both clubs don't have. So yeah, listen, we'll keep an eye on those things, folks, and we'll keep you posted with all the latest developments with regards to both Todd Cantwell and Tom Davies, and any other player that is linked with Rangers this month. Of course, it's transfer window, and Pete Lawrence makes a suggestion. What about Josh Windass? Fantastic display from him. What a goal against Newcastle as they dumped the Magpies out of the FA Cup. That ship has well and truly sailed, Joshua, but great to see him bagging that goal at the weekend.
Yeah, it was great. It was a great strike. This last season, he got, was it not 18 goals and assists, Josh Windass? I can't remember, but it was a really, he scored a lot of goals toward the end of his career. And if my memory serves me correctly, part of the reason he went was because he wanted to play through the middle, and Gerrard wanted to play more off one of the sides. I could be wrong. I'm relying on memory there. But yeah, I watched some of that game, and I thought he took that goal brilliantly. Good to see him doing well.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic from Josh Windass. Yeah, I remember he played at Aberdeen, didn't he, the first game in the season? And then that was him away down south to Wigan, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, certainly seems to have been doing well at Sheffield Wednesday. Okay, I think that will do us there, folks. Thanks to everyone for interacting with the show as ever. It's greatly appreciated. So much content on the website this morning, and so much to come. We've got loads of. There's an opinion piece from Joshua on there on Fashion Sakala. There's also all the the fallout from the game, everything that Michael Beale had to say following that win over Dundee United. And you said, Joshua, that there's a lot of stuff coming on the website later on today.
Yeah, Derek, we have obviously, as ever, thank people for tuning in, but encourage them as well to sign up and support what we do by subscribing to the website. And just looking at it just now, we have a piece looking at Sakala, why Beale's choice to play with two forwards makes sense, kind of digging in a bit more to those flexibility comments. There's a graph that I've just put on my Twitter, similar to the one we had with Kent, which shows the different areas in which Sakala is receiving the ball and maybe why that's a positive. We're going to have a look at some of the managers' comments at halftime, full-time, saying what changed at halftime, kind of breaking down some of those. We'll have all the data from the game, and lots more coming this week. So, yeah, if you want to subscribe, you'll get that top-quality coverage every single day, and it supports what we do on the morning briefing as well.
Yeah, fantastic stuff. And as James Strachan rightly says, hit the like button, please, Bears. Okay, folks, that'll do us there. We'll be back again tomorrow. But until then, enjoy the rest of your Monday. Bye for now.